how would you respond to Muslims who say the morality police or social monitoring to ensure Islamic behaviors are adhered to not because of Islam, but because of their culture?
I mean, what kind of culture do we have that is not affected by religion? So religion is part and parcel of what culture is. To say that this is completely removed from Islam, that you can say, well, this is their religion, as if we're considering this, as if we're considering religion as a part of an identity, like what you would have in the West, where people belong to very different things. They have various identities, and then religion is one of them. No, religion is in fact a part and parcel of what their culture is, and we're talking about a culture that has been affected by this for 1400 years. So I don't think it's possible to make the separation.
I think your argument works well for people who are not Muslims, and I agree with it, obviously. I want to argue it for the Muslims for a moment. If you were speaking to a Muslim about this, about the religion versus culture, and that they see them as distinct, separate, kind of have nothing to do with each other, the way we see it is there was a culture, Islam was born out of it, and then Islam affected cultures, so it's also the culture. Religion and culture are the same thing. That's what you just said. Let's separate them for a moment to help the Muslims understand this. In order to understand if this is Islam or culture, well, ask where the fuck it came from. Is it written anywhere in Islam? Did Muhammad do it? Did the people around him do it?
Right.
Was there a morality police? Probably, technically, no.
Yeah, I mean, not in the sense that we have in a place like Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia was a kind of an exception where they went into the resources and just implemented those things as they stand. And so,
would you say stoning somebody and killing them, stoning somebody to death for sex out of marriage, wouldn't you say that's social monitoring?
That's definitely social monitoring.
Okay, did that happen during Muhammad's time?
It did.
Oh, okay. So is it Islam?
Well, yes, it is Islam, and it's.
Was it just Muhammad's culture, which has nothing to do with Islam? That would be funny. What does that even mean?
This
the problem with that is the Quran says follow Muhammad.
Yeah, and many of these stoning, including stoning, but probably it's something that also existed in various other cultures. This is something that was derived from biblical sources as well. So
if we say it's culture and it's not Islam, then we would have to say there's a whole bunch of things in Islam that are not really Islam, and then you can't tell which ones are which. There's no rules.
Yeah, and you cannot say that Islam is something that came from a different planet. It's building on. Well, it's supposed to have come from the sky, but that's even a further away. But what I'm saying is that when you see something that Muslims do, it's basically something that's building on previous practices. So, for example, something like chopping hands off. This might appear as something very odd. It's not something that has been practiced in the Bible. You don't find that people.
But it is older than Islam.
It's older than Islam, and it has been practiced before.
Let's name it. Okay, there's the famous one that they teach to American in public schools is it's called the Law of Hammurabi's Law or whatever. Mm-hmm. And supposedly the reason it's valuable is the reason it's worth teaching is it's the first time that laws were written down that everyone's supposed to follow. Now, they were retarded laws. Like the most extreme version that I know of that I think is even worse than anything in Islam, punishment-wise.
Yeah.
Is, and it predates Islam by what, 1,000 years? I don't even know. Do you know? Like,
no, more than 1,000 years.
More than 1,000 years. So, and the extreme law that I think is worse than anything that Islam says is if someone gets raped, so like if you make it easier, because if you rape my wife, the punishment is I get to rape your wife.
Oh yeah,
And here's the point, everyone. Obviously, this is very misogynistic. It's seeing the woman as just an object of the man. It's not a human by herself. Her wants don't matter. And Islam doesn't have anything that bad, I don't think.
yeah. You
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to judge how evil something is to another.
Exactly. It's not easy to say this is worse than this. I mean, we're talking about something that predates any kind of true civil society, and so in order to create some kind of real control, you end up with these tribal acts that are meant to punish not the individual but the group. And so if you end up doing something like that under the auspices of the state, that prevents those revenge wars where you have one tribe trying to kill another or trying to get back at one another. And so, I mean, it can make some sense in that ancient society. It's stupid, but you can see where it's coming from.
The value in having laws at all is just this basic thing that without the laws, then it's complete mayhem. Yeah. Anyone doing anything, and no one's worried about, well, is the society going to be okay with this? Maybe I shouldn't do this. Of course, now, if the laws are also evil, that presents its own problems. But if you also combine this with we improve our laws over time, we reach to where we are today.
Right. But I would also claim something else, that some of these laws are not really, they don't need to be instituted in written form or in some kind of an explicit.
Or with a government punishment.
Yeah, because eventually, if you end up with a society where everybody steals from everybody, everybody kills everybody, that's not a society that can live. It's just going to kill itself. It would just wither away, and it's not going to proceed beyond a certain level of development.
Are you saying something like, okay, if you go back far enough, before the whole planet was filled, I don't know, 5,000 years ago or something, you're saying maybe there was cultures or tribes that was one way, complete mayhem, no laws, and there's tribes that did have laws, and the tribes that had laws, even though there were some bad laws, iterated with improvement over time, and the ones that had no laws, they just destroyed themselves and vanished?
Probably we don't have to think about laws as such. So think about it this way. Imagine that you have someone who keeps stealing from everybody. A particular person who is a thief. And we're talking here about an individual who does that. We're not talking about the entire society doing it. Once that happens, the society is going to be acting against that person in order to prevent the damage that they are doing. And so that person could be shunned, could be punished in one way in order to stop this.
That works if you're a tiny minority in the majority of good guys.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say good and bad. It's just the good of the entire society is going to be better served if you act against.
That's what I mean by good and bad there.
Yeah, but it's from the perspective of the thief, the good is to steal. So it's
yeah, and he's confused about what good is. Okay, anyway, so just like with jihad and all that, it's all an issue of whether, I've been saying good and evil, but of course the big chunk of people who are doing what I claim is evil, they think it's good.
Yeah. So for example, take someone like Hitler. Do you think that he thought of himself as a bad person? I don't think so.
I think he did that thing we discussed a bunch of episodes ago on I don't know what, which was this concept of means to an end.
Yeah.
If they believe their end goal is good, and if they also have this logic of any means to an good end is a good means.
Yes.
then therefore any evil thing becomes good.
Exactly.
And I think they struggle with that a little bit, but they still sort of fool themselves. Oh,
Yes.
no, I did good because my end goal was good.
Exactly. And that's in part, that's actually what we're trying to talk about today, because when you think about the idea of killing in itself, that's bad. But when you think, well, if you're part of an army, for example, and this doesn't have to do with jihad, if you're part of an army and you're fighting for a cause that you believe in, then you are doing something that's in every society is supposed to be bad. You're trying to kill other people, but you believe that you're doing that in order to serve a certain goal that's even higher or more sublime than whatever casualties who are going to be dying because of this.
And just to be clear, what we were just talking about, we're talking about the Islamic version of doing evil because of this logic means to an end. But Islam and Muslims are not the only ones that do it. The first time we talked about it on air was about the US and the guys that take us to wars with propaganda as their means to control us. Anyway, they're doing the same kind of thing.